Today, August 7th, we find ourselves between the anniversaries of two of the most tragic events of the 20th century. Yesterday was the 75th anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and this Sunday will be the 75th anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bomb on Nagasaki. It's hard to say exactly how many people died in those two explosions, but it was probably somewhere between 129,000 people and 226,000 people, mostly civilians. And as you all know, many of the people who survived the immediate impact of the bomb died later on from the radiation. God's words to the prophet Nahum in today's first reading could easily apply to Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the beginning of August 1945. Woe to the bloody city, the many slain, the heaping corpses, the endless bodies to stumble upon. One of the mysteries of these two tragic events is how 4 Jesuit priests, who by all human measurements really should have died, ended up surviving. Fathers Hugo LaSalle, Hubert Schiffer, Wilhelm Kleinsorge, and Hubert Chislek lived in the rectory of Our Lady of the Assumption Church in Hiroshima, just several hundred yards or 8 blocks from the very spot where the bomb fell. Their rectory was a traditional Japanese house built of very light material, and yet when the atomic bomb fell on August 6th, their rectory remained standing, despite the fact that almost every other building within 2 miles of the bomb was completely destroyed. The 4 priests sustained no injuries with the exception of a few cuts from the broken windows. Nor did they suffer from any effects of radiation. Over the years, they were examined by doctors and scientists over 200 times, but no trace of radiation was ever found in them. In fact, all 4 died of natural causes many years later. How did those 4 Jesuit priests survive the atomic bomb? Well, if you ask them, they would give you their opinion immediately. They believed that they were spared because they prayed the Rosary together every day in honor of Our Lady of Fatima. Of course, our overly rationalist world would scoff at that answer, but those 4 Jesuits were convinced that Mary had saved them through the prayer of the Rosary. One of them was even asked to share his testimony at the 1976 International Eucharistic Congress in Philadelphia. In his witness talk that day, he said, "The scientists didn't understand anything. They didn't believe our explanation when we told them that we were living out the message of Fatima, that we had prayed the Rosary together each day in that house." And that's, they believed, why they were saved. How does the old saying go? For those who do not believe, no explanation is possible. For those who do believe, no explanation is necessary. And isn't it interesting that right in between the anniversaries of those 2 bombings, on August 8th, is the feast day of Saint Dominic, the very saint who gave the Church the prayer of the Rosary. Is there any doubt, everybody, that on a spiritual level, the world is undergoing an atomic attack right now? Any doubt? As we get closer and closer to the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, the devil is working more and more aggressively. And these days we see him especially attacking families, young people, and priests. Those are his 3 favorite targets: families, young people, and priests. And there's only one way we can withstand and survive his atomic attack. Mary explained it to the 3 children in Portugal back in 1917 when she said, "Pray the Rosary every day for peace in the world and for an end to the war." Do you and your family pray the Rosary every single day? Ideally, not just you, but you and your spouse, if they're alive, and your whole family together, ideally. If you don't, why don't you? And if you do you pray it from the heart? Mary wants to protect us the same way she protected those 4 Jesuits in 1945. And in order to do that, she asks of us one thing: pray the Rosary every day with the heart. If we do, we will be protected, peace will reign in our world, and before not too long, Mary's Immaculate Heart will triumph.